Inside Natural Bodybuilding is presented by MTS Nutrition, Fit Body U, Chosen Athletic Apparel, and TigerFitness.com. Now here's your host, Mike Superhuman Neumann.
Hey, natural bodybuilding bikini figure fans. I'll be introducing our guest in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at some of the newly crowned champions of this past weekend's INBA PNBA North American. Take a look at this. It was a hot one. There were a lot of quality competitors there. A smaller show. It was a good first show for somebody, but the quality in the competitors that showed up is something to be on the lookout for. So we'll start with men's bodybuilding, where Michigan's Jason Carlisle goes home with a first-place victory. I felt although he was good with decent balance in his physique, if he's looking to repeat a win at his next show this fall, he's going to need to be much leaner, especially in a lower body. Legs win shows. You really got to bring those legs. He's going to bring some alien conditioning to the stage, though, since he likely won't be one of the larger competitors in most lineups. In men's physique, it was Gino Malo who stole the show, taking home victories in the novice as well as the open class where he earned his pro card. And then in Cinderella story fashion, went on to compete as a pro later in the show, edging out some of the top professionals in the Midwest, placing second, which not only qualified him for the National Olympia, but also brought him home a check for $500. That's right. The newly crowned bikini pro was Elena Kuhlman. Her posing and presentation was the best in the entire show, amateur or pro. She was good with a complete package, a fierce combination of muscularity and leanness that precisely hits what is sought after in INBA, PNBA bikini. Got to have that combination of the fierce muscularity and leanness as well. They both go hand in hand in the bikini division in the INBA, PNBA. In his first time competing in 8 years, Lance Dillon's return to the stage definitely lived up to the hype leading into the show. Lance edged out some very competitive lineup of top quality athletes in the classic physique division and is welcomed into the pro ranks where as long as he continues to refine his posing presentation, he will do very well. Moving into the pro men's bodybuilding. Team Wilson athlete Craig Baxter took home the gold along with the check for $1,000. If you want to win your next show, you got to go to TeamWilsonBB.com. Seeing Craig compete numerous times in the past, he definitely was not at the best we've seen him in this particular showing, but he was still good enough to take home the win. I believe he has his sights set on Michigan State in 6 weeks, or even October's Minnesota Mayhem, one of the most sought-after shows in the nation. As long as he dials things in 100% and refines his posing a bit, we should see him doing very well at either of those future shows. In pro men's physique, it was Colorado's Arias Norris in first place. Arias is starting to make quite the name for himself in 2020 after racking up pro wins at the Southern Open, Mr. Minnesota, and now the PNBA North American. We just may see this young man make a legit run at the prestigious Natural Olympia title. Our pro bikini lineup was a very competitive one, but it was Kat Vera who brought the most well-rounded physique to the class and also earned her $1,000 and also the title of Miss North American. Kathy Crow rocked the pro women's physique division, displaying her trademarked world-class conditioning, bringing home yet another first-place trophy to go along with her already extensive resume of pro wins in the PNBA. And in pro figure masters, we have Kim Lenti taking the top honors there. So that's a recap of our pro card winners and champions from the INBA PNBA North American. Our guest today is one of those previously mentioned champions from this past weekend, new classic physique pro. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Lance Dillon. Lance, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. Okay,
yes. Well, fun to take the time out of this. Bodybuilding season is hot right now. It's about to get even hotter. So let's talk about the beginning. I always like to talk about the beginning stages and how you got to where you are, because all the decisions we've ever made have led us to where we are right now. So I want to know the first decision you made to lead you here. when did you start lifting weights, and why did you start?
Well, to be all the way honest, my first time ever seeing a weight ever, my father kind of introduced me to him back in about middle school. But my real time really getting on to weights was my freshman year in high school. I saw a guy with an amazing chest and in the weight room. And I say, man, and I saw him doing 135 on the bench, and it blew my mind.
You were
I
just
said,
a time.
"Dang."
You were just a freshman in high school at the time.
Yes, freshman in high school. Football.
See that, and you wanted that, and that's what got you to go that direction and went after what you wanted. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and you just because some kids start their freshman year in high school or sophomore year, even in 8th grade, but some don't catch on to it. You know, some do, some don't. Were you in other sports as well, or was that your main go-to, was the weight room?
Well, it was, I played football. I was actually a high school wrestler. And then I threw the shot put disc and ran the mile and 2 mile. So, you know, it was just part of what we did as a lifestyle, as being an athlete.
Just an all-around athlete. Yeah, I always tell teenagers, just stay in sports as long as you can. Even if you're not lifting weights, you can still stay in condition and become conditioned just by playing sports and the training they take you through. And it might even be better off in the long run if you save it until after high school, nonetheless. But let's talk about how you got started with competing then. I mean, I figure if you're in the gym anyway, you know, you might as well do something with it. And once you got school and college, you're not playing sports anymore, and you have that competitive spirit, you don't have too many options. You got leagues you can join, you know, but some people gravitate towards competitive physique competition like yourself. So how did you get started in physique competition?
Wow. Well, first, my life is a movie. But, what happened, I was a personal trainer in Chicago for a number of years.
Okay.
And for a brief stint in my life, I ended up in Los Angeles. And I was on Venice Beach one day. I was just walking the beach, and I saw that stage they had out there. And they had Mr. and Mrs. Venice Beach or something like that back in 2011, 2012. And I just saw, I said, man, I think I could do that. You know, I could probably compete in this, you know, and it was men's physique at the time. And so I just jumped in the show, had no idea what I was getting into, and went with the physique that I had and ended up getting 3rd place in my class.
Okay. You were genetically, your niche, you found your niche right out of the gate. It didn't take too much. Just being in the right place in the right time sometimes pays off. And did you do a string of shows at that point, or was that just a one and done kind of thing?
Well, what it did for me is I was at a very rough point in my life, and it gave me confidence. It gave me confidence, and when I saw that it gave myself confidence, I started posting it on the internet, and I saw other people started drawing interest just from me competing and placing, and it rang a bell in my head. And it said, okay, man, you know, since I'm a personal trainer, I wanted to inspire the world via personal training. I saw that as an avenue to assist other people in achieving a confidence that I achieved just by competing. So from that, you know, I started looking at other shows to compete in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you're a trainer and you show your clients that you live the lifestyle, a lot of them like to go your direction because they see that you live the lifestyle that you're trying to get them to even be a part of. Now, before that show, was jumping on stage in front of 500 people something you would have seen yourself doing? Or was that kind of like jumping off of a cliff for you because it was such an uncomfortable, you're jumping out of your comfort zone at that point? Oh.
Well, to be honest, I'm a Leo. So I like being on the stage. It's always intimidating. And that intimidation is my driving force to produce.
Okay. So
I never saw myself being on the stage, like on bodybuilding stage, but it's something that's growing on me big time.
Sure. You know, I'm from Chicago area. Where do you live now?
I live downtown
okay.
Chicago.
south of the city. But I used to be a personal trainer myself at Valley Total Fitness back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Bally's was still around. But now the world's been taken over by LA Fitnesses. There's Export Fitnesses up there, but there's a couple good gyms left in Illinois. But yeah. So nonetheless, now so what's next for you then? I mean, you did really well this last weekend. What's next for Lance Dillon?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll keep it brief. In recent time, just getting involved during the COVID. The COVID came through. So about 2016, I invested in the International Association of Fitness Sciences Ultimate Bodybuilding Certification through Haney. And that really kind of ignited my passion again in like really building up my body and looking at bodybuilding as something that I wanted to do seriously. And I actually did a show in 2017 with another natural organization. And I followed those sciences and have built an amazing body. And I didn't achieve the pro status. And so it kind of drew me into a mental spin. And so since then, I got into triathlons. And then COVID hit. I had 3 triathlons that I had planned on doing in 2020. And when everything got canceled, I was kind of left out on an island and say, okay, so what am I going to do? And about when 4th of July was coming through, I started to find myself again. And the words from Lee Haney would always pop in my head, always be within striking distance, and that's the way I've always maintained my diet. I've always maintained my body. And so I was looking around and I found the show, the North American Pro-Am, and it just so happened to be on my birthday. And
those are always.
I said, this is destiny.
That was quite a birthday then. Yeah, that was probably the most memorable birthday you had, or at least one of them anyway. To win that title and the pro card on your birthday, that's pretty good stuff right there. Yeah, I got to meet Lee Haney once. I was at a show that he was a guest at, and I seen him in the hotel lobby. And he talked to me for like 10 minutes, and he wasn't in a rush to get rid of me. He wasn't in a rush to get the conversation over. His wife was standing there with him, just being patient as can be. Neither one of us were standing in line. He was just in the lobby, and I just went up to him and started talking to him, and he didn't rush me or nothing. So, yeah, that was my experience with Lee Haney. So I did get to meet Lee Haney one time. And, back in the day, he used to have those good weightlifting shows on ESPN. And a lot of the stuff that I learned and still use to this day, like proper form, I'm big on proper form, man. And that show that Lee Haney had back on ESPN back in the day, he broke down form every exercise. So that's where I learned most of my stuff at, now that I think about it. Good stuff. So you're a vegan also. Let's talk about your diet when you're getting ready for a show, because some people find that hard to believe or hard to do. So let's talk about how you get it done.
That's a whole story too.
Yeah.
My first gym job was working at
We want to hear it.
My first gym job when I got certified back in 2007 was working at Equinox there in the Loop. And it was a conversation going on. Back then, eating plants was not popular. And it was a conversation of if a person could, one, build muscle and maintain muscle on plants alone. And nobody believed it was possible. And, me being fresh out of my cert, and I would say it's possible if you put the right nutrition in, and nobody believed it. So what I did, I set myself a 3-month window, because I knew it wouldn't be something like you could just change your body overnight. So I gave myself a 3-month window, and I just stopped eating meat. That was the first thing that went out. And and within that 3 months, I lost 20 pounds. But something miraculous happened for me was I had an ACL surgery in college, and the pain from the surgeries went away. And I said, okay, Lance, okay, you got something here. So let me explore what this is. So before I did that, I went back to McDonald's. Oh, I don't know if I should say that, but I went and I ate some meat after 3 months, and it made me ill. And so I said, okay, well, something's up. And from that moment, I started looking into food and how it affects different bodies, especially since I was working with so many people. And I came across a book called The China Study. And from the China Study, I started linking foods and illnesses together, and it just ran me down a whole track. And since I haven't looked back. I haven't looked back from that point.
Wow.
2007.
And there's a good documentary on Netflix right now about vegan dieting, and I watched it and it made sense. And it sounds like something worth trying. Energy levels that I'm sure they've improved. And what kind of changes have you seen in energy levels and other things since you switched over to vegan dieting?
Oh boy. Well, okay. So physically, like after I lost all that weight, I knew I had to rebuild my foundation, because another thing that was happening, I felt my bone structure change just due to the way my body held the muscles. And so I rebuilt my body. And the first thing that I noticed was I didn't get tired at all.
Yeah.
And like when I'm running, like I could literally up now just leave this interview and go run a marathon. And
wow.
And it's with a respectable time. So I noticed that my endurance was amazing. So when it came to lifting weights, I was able to play with the time and tension. And when I was able to play with the time and tension, it helped me develop a lot of muscle maturity.
Yeah, we love time.
Say?
We love us some time under tension. That's you know, they don't keep that time under tension.
That's
they go
really true.
out of control. You got to keep that constant tension on the muscle. I get it. After watching the documentary on Netflix and after listening to you, I find it hard to believe that I would actually give it a shot. But I'm tempted. I'm kind of tempted after everything I'm hearing about this, hearing all these athletes and the benefits they're receiving from this vegan dieting. I'm tempted to try it. I don't know if I ever will, but I'll keep you up. Your thoughts on the venue, because you chose to compete in the Pro North American. There was a venue change at the very end, but a really nice venue we had, and it was my first time to this particular venue. And what was your thoughts on it? And what were your thoughts on the whole show as a whole, the way it was ran and the stage and all that good stuff?
I was completely impressed. I honestly have to say it ran very smooth. And, they kept us informed throughout the entire time while we were backstage. The stage was amazing. It was really a nice presentation. I like the awards. And to be honest, to be all the way honest, like I've done some NPC shows, and I've done UFE, and the UFE was the natural organization, and then I did the show out in California, and this was the first time that I actually really interacted with the other competitors and had a good time doing it. Like I literally had a good time talking. And the funny part, one of the main guys that I felt like was a major competition on the stage with me, he was the first person I met backstage. Him and his mother. And we started a nice little friendship, exchanging information via the internet now already. So it's I see that lasting friendships that you can make. This is the first time I really felt like, you know what, I actually might have a real friend from this. And it's just a different experience. It's hard to pin it, but I know the difference.
Yeah, certain promoters will create a certain culture for their shows and create a certain atmosphere. And then the team, they get to work around them, will create the atmosphere, and that all helps. But the Pro North American certainly nailed that. Well, they had Courtney and Tony Spaeth expediting. I mean, come on now. That's why it stayed so organized backstage. And he had a good that Leaf did. But it was a well-run show, I thought. And it's always when I haven't missed that show in years. I don't know when the last time was that I missed that show, but it's been a long, long time. I make that show on my list every single year. And you're the Classic Physique Amateur Champion there. For those of you who missed that part, this is Lance Dillon, your Classic Physique Amateur Champion at the American place. Well, do you plan on using your pro card soon this year? Or are you going to take some time off? What are your plans now as far as competition goes?
Well, you want the truth? I got to give it to you. So
I don't want the truth. Come on.
So here it is. I actually put my goal was to jump into this show and to win it. That was my goal. And I didn't have much prep to really stack on what I wanted to really do and practice the posing the way I really wanted, just due to a lot of things, COVID. So I told myself, this is going to start my road to this natural Olympia. And I'm serious about that. So at the show, I saw this Minnesota show coming up in October, and they might just see me there. It's about an 8 out of 10 potential that I'm going to be there.
Well, I'll tell you what, you'll find out where you stand at the Minnesota Mayhem. That's one good thing about the Minnesota Mayhem. If you want to find out how you would do at one of the year-end championship shows, and you want to find out about how you would do against some good quality competition, because a lot of these pro shows, you're only up against one other competitor that gives you a run for your money. Well, at the Minnesota Mayhem, there's going to be at least 5, 6 that are all going to be in contention. And if you win that class, then you're going to be well off in any world championship you decide to enter towards the end of this year. And while we're on the topic of shows, Lance, let's take a brief time out to talk about some upcoming shows. On August 8th, August 8th, we have the OCB Fire and Ice Classic. That's taking place in Florida. I'd like to go to Florida sometime. If any of you show promoters are in Florida, want to fly me down and MC your show or judge for you, I would love to go to Florida. August 15th, the INBF Oklahoma City coming at you. August 22nd, the INBF Iowa will be taking place. I'm sure Ryan Irwin has a part in that. And then on August 29th, you got the INBA Utah State. But Lance, you got your sights set on the Minnesota Mayhem, maybe on October 10th. That show will be taking place. And I go to a lot of shows. I'm talking, 15, 18 shows a year. Plus, I keep up on all the top shows. Minnesota Mayhem's in the top 5 shows in the nation, I think, as far as amateurs go. If you want to test yourself and you want to find out where you're going to be and where you'll stand in the World Championships, you got to do a big show. You got to do a big show, and you got to win against some good quality competitors to make sure you're not going to get knocked out of the park in the World Championships. So what else is on your radar there, Lance?
That's it. I got long-term goals because, my mentor for this bodybuilding thing is Lee Haney. And, I watched him do the 8-time Mr. Olympia. So I want to develop my body to do 8 times.
Yeah.
At my age.
Keikos, this guy's going after 8 times.
I'm on that.
Favorite shows, the Natural Olympia taking place this year in November. We'll give you details on that at a future show. And what about your training philosophy? I guess you stay lean all year round. You look like you have a fast metabolism. You don't really get too far out of stage weight, I would imagine. And all the top pros that I see winning top pro shows are the ones who stay lean and stay on track, like within, 8 to 12 pounds of stage weight, maybe not quite that low, but they don't get too far from striking distance. Do you stay lean all year round? Yeah?
It's really with the diet, I have no choice.
Yeah.
It's very little fats in the diet.
Because it's August now. We're talking about staying in competition shape for a few more months. We got August, September, October, November, and you got to stay in this because there really is no off season. So what's your strategy to maintaining your muscle during this time?
Well, to be honest again, I doing those triathlons, I wasn't really lifting heavy or a lot, because I was just lifting to maintain my body so I can keep distance.
Right.
So this switchover, I'm nothing close to. I'm probably about 10 pounds lighter than I normally would have been for a show.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to surprise some people. I'm really looking to surprise some people. And I'm already starting to eat up on my foods now. And I'm growing. I'm growing big time. All
right. What kind of feedback did you get as far as what kind of improvements you need to make before you go into a show like the Natural Olympia?
Open up. Working on the posing and because I was a lot narrow and because I'm a little taller. I'm 6'1", about 6'1" and a half. And so a lot of my poses, I have my legs really shallow and I can open them up a lot more and show what I really have.
Yeah.
As, because I personally felt like too, I was narrow, especially looking back at some of the photos that some of the fans took, and I could see that. And it's just getting back on the stage and getting comfortable. and bringing out who I am.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Lance, are there any shout-outs you'd like to give before we end the show?
Number one, Lee Haney, because I know he's probably going to see this. And then just a big shout-out to my mother and my father for bringing me to the earth. And the most important is all of the people. You know, I live my life for the people. I train for the people, and I present my body for the people. So a big shout out to everyone who tunes into the Natural Physiques or natural shows, and that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, that's what, you know, I think Lee Haney, I used to like Dorian Yates as a Mr. Olympia, but Lee Haney, I think, is probably the greatest Mr. Olympia because of the way he conducted himself. He always trained hard, you know, but he didn't just show up, win, and go home without talking to anybody. I mean, he represented the sport of bodybuilding, you know, the best, I think, of all the Mr. Olympias. And plus, he was the start of the mass phase in that era, nonetheless. You were coming up, you know, when I was coming up, that's all we had back in the day. I wasn't introduced to natural bodybuilding until I was like 18, 19. So I didn't know any of the natural bodybuilders until then. But when I was coming up, those were the guys that I read about. So I came up with that. But nonetheless, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank our apparel, tigerfitness.com, and FitBodyU for their support. If there's a guest you'd like to see or a topic you would like to discuss on the show, feel free to email your suggestions to info@InsideNaturalBodybuilding.com. Thanks for watching, fans. Tune in next time for episodes coming at you. Thank you.